What's up, everyone? I'm going to be answering the age-old question of price today, all how it pertains to marketing. So I'm going to walk through what marketing truly costs, and then maybe kind of weigh out some of the options to figure out which aspects are appropriate for you so you're not going to spend all this money on marketing and then go bankrupt. Let's get started. Hey guys, I'm Logan Shinholster with Contractor Growth Network, and today we're running down 7 different aspects of marketing to talk to you about the cost, because at the end of the day, if you're not ROI positive, then you're going to be SOL positive. So the 7 aspects are going to be website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, email, direct mail, and lead gen services. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with a website. Now, you may be thinking, what does a website cost? And this is one of the more subjective answers, because there's not much of a supply and demand thing like how you're gonna get with paying for advertisement or paying for billboards. With websites, I've seen websites being built for $250,000, and I've also seen them built for $250, which would be $25. They're so widespread. So what you really should be focusing on is what should you be spending on a website. And one of the rules of thumb is, if you are a remodeler or one of those, like lower urgency companies, it should really be the cost of a project. Now you may be thinking, no way I'm gonna be spending like, 15, 20 grand on a website. Well, we average over here at Full Sail, we average about an $8,500 website. What makes a website $250,000 one, like I mentioned earlier? That's what like a Lotus or Mercedes or some of these massive companies, that's what they're going to be spending on a website, because there's 2 real big aspects that go into this super expensive website. One is going to be overall like customer research. They want to find out exactly what is going to make Lotus's ideal client love their website. So they're doing tons of research, and this is why the Pepsi logo costs so much money, because they did all this research and did very little change, but it all aligns with the ideal clientele of Pepsi. Well, that's the same thing with these large companies. They want to make sure that before they put up a background video on their website of a car, they do all this user research where they're going to have like test subjects where they're going to say, watch this video versus this video. Which one do you like better? And whichever video gets better reviews, that's what's going to go on the website. And the other side of things is the functionality of the website. They have very specific websites where you can build your own car, right? A build your own car function is not a cheap and simple thing. It's a ton of custom work. So between those 2 things, those websites are pretty powerful. They're very, very expensive very quickly. On the low end, you can have a website for $100. You can shop that bad boy out to somebody overseas, and they're just gonna give you a straight up plug and play website that may or may not work. We don't really know. I've done that before where I've said, oh yeah, like when I first started out, I hired somebody overseas to build me a website for like $400. And when it's all said and done, I literally had to redo every aspect of the website because there were so many errors with it. And it wasn't what I wanted at all, so it was very frustrating. But you can get them super cheap by going to a specialist overseas, but you get what you pay for. So the next aspect that we're going to be talking about is Facebook advertising. Now here's where it gets kind of tricky. It's ironic, but the more money that you spend on Facebook, the cheaper it is. And here's what I mean. Facebook is a data machine. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey Facebook, I want you to find everybody that's my ideal client. And if you give them $5 a day, they only have a little bit of data to work with, because they only have so much money of you to say, hey, we're going to show this ad to people. So the more people that they can show the ad for, the more they can find out who's your ideal client and who's not your ideal client. Because you can say, hey Facebook, I want you to generate leads, and when they show it to every single person in the city, then they can figure out, okay, this section of 100 people, they're the ones that are actually going to be, calling you up, but they need all this data. So when you spend a lot of money on Facebook, Facebook actually gathers so much information that it can use its AI or machine learning to figure out who to not show your ads to anymore. But if you only give it a little bit of data, then you're going to be kind of in a tough spot, because Facebook can't work its magic. It's kind of like, getting 10 leads in the door and then passing it out to 4 different sales reps. So each sales rep gets either 2 or 3 leads, and then determining who's the best sales rep and who's the worst one from there. It's kind of hard based off of such small information, but if you get 100 leads in the door, now everybody's getting about 25 leads to work with. Now you got some real data. And now you can really determine, okay, Rick is really good with this kind of clientele, but Deborah is fantastic with the super high end. So you can kind of segment out like that, but you need to be spending a lot of money. So what we're going to suggest is on the minimum, spend at least $1,000 a month on Facebook ads just to let Facebook do its thing and figure out what's working and what's not going to be working. The next aspect is going to be YouTube. But before we use YouTube, speaking of which, hit that like button. When you hit the like button, it really helps out the YouTube algorithm and will take our message and push it out to even more contractors that really want to grow their business the right way. So please, 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 it helps a lot. Back to YouTube. So you're thinking, YouTube, what do you mean, like I got to pay money on YouTube? Well, YouTube ads are big, and it's actually one of the more up and coming ways to advertise. If you go on a popular channel, a popular YouTube videos, YouTube channel, and you click on a video, and the first thing you see is, video beforehand that you got to wait 5 seconds to skip, that's a YouTube pre-roll ad. Now, those are great if you know how to use them properly. We start off kind of slow with those. We're spending about the same $500 a month, like about half of what we're spending on Facebook. At this point, all this stuff really, it's all supply and demand. So the more people that hop on the YouTube bandwagon, and I'm not meaning just your competitors, because if you're a kitchen remodeler, you're not just competing against other kitchen remodelers. You're competing against everybody else for your YouTube spot. So it's no longer you versus, Jeff's kitchen remodeling down the road. Now it's you versus everybody else who's going for a 48-year-old woman that's middle to upper class that has 4 kids. Right now, those massive brands have not jumped into social media all the way quite yet. Once they do, everything will get more and more expensive because, again, supply and demand, and there's only so much real estate available online. But right now, we're spending about $500 a month for the clients that we work with to actually try to generate leads on YouTube. $500 minimum, that should get your foot in the door to get started. The next thing that we're going to be talking about price-wise is the elephant, right? The big 20-ton gorilla, it's Google. What does Google cost and how does it work? Well, there's a couple different services with Google these days. All right, first off, you got your Google lead ads. And those are the ones that if you're in certain areas, like certain cities, in certain industries, then you can do this Google Guaranteed program where if somebody searches for plumber near me and they're here in Charlotte, then it pops up with, I think it's 3 different ads at the top that says the plumber's names. It has the rating they have on there for their company, plus it has the Google Guaranteed badge. Those are industries that we don't deal with. Those are like, I think plumbing has it, HVAC, carpet cleaning, things like that, locksmiths. We don't work with any of those clients, so we don't actually, I don't know the exact cost and that kind of stuff, but apparently those are super effective these days. So I can't touch on price, but I know they work pretty well from what I've heard. What we do handle is the other services, which is going to be remodeling, landscaping, home building, things like that. And that is still the old school style of Google Ads. Now, Google Ads, it used to be when you search for, let's say, home builders, and an ad would pop up, it would cost 5 cents every time somebody clicked on it. And that was it. It was just 5 cents. What does Google Ads cost these days? Again, that is a supply and demand thing. I've seen things for very expensive words, so you get to bid against other people saying, hey, anytime somebody searches for kitchen remodeler, I want to show my ad, and that is a bidding auction system. So for certain really, really high demand, roofing is super expensive. Roofing could be like $30 a click, like something very high, but the payoff for a roofing, if you get that roofing lead to come in and you sell them something, you're gonna make a ton of money. So the ROI is there, but those words itself are very high. On the flip side, the industries that we work for, they're cheaper. You're probably looking anywhere between $3 and $5 per click. So you could actually have 6 more people click on your ad for a kitchen remodel than you would like a roofer in your area. Again, you can look all this stuff up in Google Ads, but it'll show you what the back and forth is. Google is all intent-based, meaning somebody has to search that in. So it's completely different styles of who they're showing the ads to. But again, with this, I would spend at least $500 to figure out, if they're $5 a click at $500 a month, you're gonna have 100 clicks come in to see, is anything even happening with these 100 people that checked out our services? Now, you're thinking, okay, what does email cost? And here's really what it costs. You have 2 options. Either you just do all the emailing yourself, and you can even do this for free in like Gmail, or you could use like a company like MailChimp. I think MailChimp and some of the other ones that we use, it's like $50 a month. and that's it. So that's really what you're looking at as far as email. You can hire this stuff out for sure, and email marketing is huge. So unless you really know persuasive writing and all the ad stuff, I would definitely suggest, hiring somebody for this, but this is something that you could totally do on your own, and the only real cost associated with it is going to be either if you hire somebody or if you are using a service that makes it way easier to actually set up campaigns and sequences and stuff like that. All right, now the next thing is going to be direct mail. What does direct mail cost? And there's a couple costs associated with this. One is going to be the printing of the postcard, right? All this stuff can be done in Vistaprint. If you want to go super easy, you create a design or you have Vistaprint do it for you, then you can print that bad boy out, and then Vistaprint will actually mail it out to people. So you got that side of things, which you send it out to 400 people. I think the last time we did this, it's like a little bit less than $1 a postcard. It's like maybe like 70 cents for a postcard to be printed and to be mailed. Somewhere in that 70 cents to $1 range. Last time we did it, could be totally different at this point, but that's my experience. On the other side, you've also got something called everyday direct mail. What everyday direct mail is, you could say, hey, post office, I want you to pass these postcards out to people on this exact route. And the reason for that is you could say, well, I know everybody in this area, in this zip code, I want to do work in their neighborhood. So you can go online and actually figure out how many people are on a certain mail route. You can't say, oh, I only want to do the rich neighborhoods, or I only want to do this. You have to pick one route, and it has to be passed out to every single person on that mail route. But again, you can look this stuff up online. So with that, the cost associated with that is one, you have to print off your own postcards, because you have to take the postcards and actually give it into the post office and have them do it, so you got to print it out. And two is you have to actually pay the post office money to distribute it. It's way less than mailing it, because they're not actually mailing it, they're just taking it and putting it in different mailboxes. I think it's like 18 cents a distribution, or 18 cents per mailbox that they put it in, but they'll tell you all the costs up front, so you know exactly what you're going to pay. All right, and last but not least, we're talking about what does a lead gen site cost. And a lead gen site, we're talking about like the Home Advisor, Angie's List, things like that. The way that these really work is it's pay to play, right? So what you say is, hey, in this area, if somebody searches for these kinds of services, I want to pay money to have that lead come to me. And I've heard anywhere from $50 to $100 per lead is what you're going to be paying to get leads coming in the door. Now, the flip side of that is it's not coming directly to you. They're not saying, hey, Logan, here's a lead directly to you, call them up. They're saying, hey, Logan, plus anywhere between like 3 and 14 other contractors, here's the leads as well. So now you're bidding against each other for time and price to say, hey, I'll do your work for you, that kind of stuff. So I've heard mixed reviews on these kinds of sites. Speed is going to be your biggest factor in this, of how fast can you get back on the phone with them. But I've heard these are anywhere between $50 and $100. So you may be thinking, okay, great, it's a guaranteed lead for $50 to $100. But if you've never tried these before, just be aware that you're not the only person that's going to be calling them up. And if you're waiting a day to call somebody back, there's a very good chance that they've already hired somebody else, or you're way too late to even jump in the game. So if you're going to go into one of these routes where it's just guaranteed leads coming in because people are actually using the lead gen services from the homeowner side of things, you're actually competing with other people. So just be aware of that. But you're looking anywhere between $50 and $100 to make something like that happen per lead. All right, so to wrap it all up, I threw out prices for tons of things, and you may be thinking, well, I don't have that much money, or I've got a lot of money, where do I start? I would really start in kind of that exact order that I just went down. Actually, I would go websites, then Google, then you got your Facebook, then you got your YouTube, then you got your email, then direct mail, and last but not least, lead gen sites, right? I know it all seems kind of crazy, and sometimes those lead gen sites can work pretty well, so you almost want to start off with that so you can start to get some oxygen and some work in the door. But unless you really know how to work those, then it's going to be tough to actually have a positive return on something like that, just because of the nature of having to compete with everybody else. While with all the other 6 things that I just talked about, you're the only person that, unless they're looking at all these other contractors, but you're not sharing the leads with anybody else. So that's the order that I would go in. So hopefully this kind of clears up some of the confusion or the mystification around what is marketing cost. And then from there, you just got to figure out which one of these works for you. Maybe start off a little bit small and then eventually go all into all 6 or 7. And then you could be, flipping a huge ROI. But again, know your numbers, track this stuff, and you should be able to tell what is working for you.